Hello and welcome to Adam About. In this video I'm going to be talking about how hot tub owners can maintain their water day to day using these multifunction chlorine tablets. I'm here in Plymouth once more and I want to talk about the easiest way for hot tub owners to maintain their water to keep it clean and safe day to day. And I'm going to be using these multifunction chlorine tablets from Clearwater. These tablets are designed to release slowly into the water and are a hassle-free way to ensure you can keep the chlorine at a constant level. This means the water is always clean and safe and ready to use. I have some older videos on this channel that talk about how to use hot tub chemicals, but I'm doing a new series to make sure they're completely up to date and have the best available information. If you're new to hot tubs, I recommend starting with these. I'll link up to the playlist in the corner. In the first two videos in this series, I showed how I set up this Lazy Spa Santorini, initially using chlorine granules to shock the water and then using the starter kit to get the total alkalinity and the pH levels just right using the dip test strips. In this video, I'm going to show how to use the chlorine tablets to maintain your water day to day. For complete transparency, Clearwater have been kind enough to supply me with these chemicals free of charge and support the channel. However, all the views I give here are my own. All I'm really trying to do is show you how to use them. So let's get started with the video. Let's see how we use these tablets. These multifunction chlorine tablets from Clearwater serve several purposes. As well as acting as a sanitizer, they also act to stabilise the water. They also work as an algicide and also a clarifier. That means they will generally keep your water in tip-top condition. So, the scenario is, you've got the hot tub set up, you've used it for the first time, had a great relaxing time in the water, and you're thinking about putting the hot tub away for the day. But before you put that lid on, you need to think about how you're going to maintain the water and make sure that it's ready for use next time. The thing to remember is that when you use the hot tub, you're introducing organic compounds into the water. This can be oil off the skin, or it could be makeup or deodorant or something like that. Also, the fact that you're using the hot tub with the lid off, maybe with the bubbles running, allowing sunlight to get into the water, that also dissipates the chlorine levels in the water. This is all completely normal, and this is actually the chlorine just doing its job and making sure it kills any algae or bacteria that are in the water. What you need to do though is make sure you top up those levels to make sure the chlorine can keep on working and keeping the water clean and safe. The aim of these chlorine tablets is to keep on introducing just a small amount of chlorine into the water all the time. Unlike the chlorine granules, which are designed to do a large dose very quickly, these are all about slow release and just putting a tiny little bit in at a time. So let's go through how to use them. It's very important that you don't put these tablets directly into the water. You need something that's going to contain them and limit the flow of water that goes over them. This is what ensures that the release of the chlorine is gradual over time. It's actually a little bit dangerous to add these tablets directly into the water. They're harsh on the skin, and the last thing you want is sitting directly on one or even just near one, as the chlorine levels are going to be quite high. Also, you don't want it damaging the hot tub itself. If left just sat on the bottom of the hot tub, it won't do that any good, and if it gets sucked into the pump and the heating mechanism, that will also cause damage. There are two different ways to use the tablets. All newer Lazy Spa hot tubs come with a Chem Connect like this. These screw onto the inside of the hot tub and sit over the water flow. You put tablets inside it and add them in this way. The second way, if you've got an older Lazy Spa or a different brand of hot tub, is you use a float a little bit like this one here. In both cases, there is a control to manage the amount of chlorine that's released into the water. It's this that, once you get right, allows you to have hassle-free maintenance. So let's go through each one in turn. The Chem Connect is really easy to use. It sits on the inside wall of the hot tub and has a bayonet fitting on the inside. This allows you to easily fasten it or unfasten it onto the hot tub. The Chem Connect sits over the hot water inlet that comes out of the pump and goes into the hot tub. This means there is a constant flow of warm water going over it when you've got the heater on, and this allows the chemicals to disperse into the main hot tub. To open the Chem Connect, you twist the top anti-clockwise. This aligns some lugs with some holes, and then you can pull the top right off. With the top off, you can easily put some chlorine tablets inside the Chem Connect. I would recommend starting with 2 or 3 tablets. You can always add more later if needed. With the tablets inside, you can then put the lid back on. Then by twisting it, you can choose how little or how much chlorine you want coming out of the ChemConnect. If you twist it fully clockwise, then that closes up the vents. If you turn it anti-clockwise, then that opens up the vents. I recommend putting it in a mid position to start off with. You then screw the ChemConnect back onto the inside wall of the hot tub. If your hot tub doesn't come with a ChemConnect, then you'll need to use a float a bit like this one here. It works in a very similar way to the ChemConnect, but rather than fastening to the hot tub wall, it simply floats on the surface of the water, gradually releasing chlorine. To add the chlorine tablets, you simply unscrew the top, put 2 or 3 tablets in there, and then securely fasten the lid back on again. It has controls on the side similar to ChemConnect where you can open and close vents. The more you have open, the more chlorine comes out and vice versa. To start with, I'd suggest having this open at a midway point and then simply drop the float into the water before you put the lid back on the hot tub. It takes a little bit of trial and error to get the amount of vents open on the ChemConnect or the float just right. The best way to do it is start with them relatively closed or in a middle position and go from there. It's normally easier to open them up a little bit more and add more chlorine than it is to take chlorine out of your water if you get it too high. You'll want to make sure the chlorine levels are just right, so the easiest way to do that is the day after you've used the hot tub, get some test strips like these, dip them in the water and see what they tell you. Hopefully it's about right, or maybe it's just a little bit high or a little bit low. If the chlorine is just a little bit high, then close the vent slightly. If it's a little bit low, then open them up accordingly. If you find the chlorine levels have gone really high, the best thing to do is completely remove the float or remove the ChemConnect from the hot tub. Wait a few hours, then test again. If it's still too high, then keep the lid off the hot tub and run the air bubbles for about 20 minutes. That should hopefully lower the level. If your chlorine levels are still too high, then you're going to have to take more drastic action. Ideally, you're going to need to drain some water and then top up with fresh water. That will lower the chlorine levels, but it also means you'll have to balance the total alkalinity and get the pH levels right again. If, on the other hand, the chlorine levels have dropped really, really low, then you may want to shock the water. Add some chlorine granules, wait at least 2 hours, then check the water and see how it's getting on. Essentially, this is something you're going to get a feel for. Just keep checking the water each day, keep an eye on that chlorine. If it's too high or too low, then adjust the vents. Finally, you want to keep an eye on the tablets themselves. Open up the float or ChemConnect and keep an eye on the tablets. Once they start to disappear, then it's time to add some new ones. I usually find with my hot tub, I put 2 tablets in there, set the vent to quite a low level, and that keeps the chlorine just right for me. These multifunction chlorine tablets from Clearwater do a fantastic job at keeping the hot tub water clean and safe. It's a hassle-free way to maintain your water and they work really well. However, it's worth remembering that they are chemicals, and because of that you need to consider some safety factors. The most important thing is you never add chlorine to water while there are people in the hot tub. If you've got a float, you should always remove it before people get in. If you've got the ChemConnect, then you should switch it to the off position or ideally remove it altogether from the water. When you're adding tablets to your ChemConnect or float, it's best to do it somewhere open, not an enclosed place, and always wash your hands afterwards. Finally, as with all chemicals, keep them out of the way of children and pets. So that's my guide to the Clearwater multifunction chlorine tablets and how to maintain your water on a day-to-day basis. If you've got any questions about how to use these, please put it in the comments section below and I'll do my best to answer them. This video forms part of a series that I'm making on how to use Clearwater chemicals, so please feel free to take a look around my channel as I've got lots of tips and advice on how to keep your hot tub clean and safe to use. If you did find this video helpful, then please consider subscribing to my channel and also liking this video, as it really does help me out and allows me to keep on making videos like this. But thank you very much for watching today. Goodbye.